So today I'm going to take off this vacuum reservoir for the headlights. There's a couple vacuum lines that need to be disconnected here. There's one on each side, one for each. There's two separate control modules for the headlights. One goes to each one of those. They just pop off. There's not even a clamp holding them. So those are off. You can see the nipple for the airline. Then over on this side is the air or the vacuum line that comes in from the engine. Sucks the air out of this and gives it the reservoir that it needs whenever you shut the headlights off after you've turned the engine off. And to actually get the reservoir off, one of the first things I'm going to do is disconnect this horn. I haven't decided yet whether I'll take the horn off the vacuum reservoir before I drop it or after I drop it, because if I take it off before, it'll just be hanging on the wire unless I can get the wire off. And in either case, I've got to take the wire off, I guess. These connectors, after being on here for probably 40 years, some of them are hard to get off. There's the line from the horn. There's one of those 3/8 inch bolts holding the horn on. I guess I'll take it off before I drop it. And then in order to drop it, you need to take off these brackets here, which are bolted on underneath the wheel well. But there's a wire here that's got a little clip on it. It goes to the parking light. You want to make sure you take that off and make sure there's nothing holding it connected to the top or the back side of it. And there isn't over here. Got to do that on the other side. And then I will go and actually take the tires off, because I feel it's going to be much easier to take this off with the tires out of the way. And you'll see what I mean by that once I get the tires off and show you how these are attached. In the meantime, I'm going to go get a 3/8 inch socket, see if I can remove the horn without breaking that bolt. That might be a fun undertaking. So that bolt came out very easily, no problem at all. And my sister called and I had lost an hour, so I don't know how much I'm going to get done today. I'm going to take off these bolts. Make sure actually you can't see where I'm pointing. There's a couple bolts under here that bolt it to the radiator support. I'm going to take those off before I go to the side and take off the tires, so that I can take off the brackets and ultimately take off the vacuum canister. I love it when you get to the big bolts, because you can That don't work, it's wrong size. I got the socket I need for taking the tires off. And that is not going to work for those bolts. Good guess. That is a 5/8. That's what I was looking for, what I thought I needed, and when I picked it off of the socket holder, I didn't read that either. Those aren't very long and they come off really fast. So now I'm going to set the camera up on the side, get ready to take the tire off. Okay, next step is take the tire off so I can get to those other brackets. These lug nuts for these Krager mags are a pain in the butt on this car. Not so much the lug nuts, but the wheels themselves. These are the old school mags made for drum brakes. So they really do not have the clearance for the brake calipers. And after I got the shine off, show you what they did here to make them fit. This here is 2 spacers. And what I've done to make it easier to mount the wheels on the car is I've used RTV gasket maker to kind of glue them together and glue them onto the inside of the wheel, because if you try to put those on your hub as 2 separate pieces and then the wheel, you have a heck of a time lining up those bolts, the lug nuts, to go through all 3 of those things. So I would not recommend going that route. It's not a very good solution. I do have a set of wheels that I bought for competition tires. And I still have the competition tires on them, so that is going to be what I'm going to do. I'm going to take these tires and wheels off. I don't know how I'm going to get rid of them, but I am. And I want to, you know, they fit without spacers and they clear the calipers. That was the problem with these. So next thing that has to come off here is this bracket that held, it went to the front bumper. here's the bracket. Hopefully you can see it. Now, let me verify that I have in the frame what I'm going to be pointing at. Looks like I do. There's 2 bolts on here that hold the vacuum canister on. So those are going to have to come out. But before I do that, I'm going to go to the other side. I'm not going to video it because it's more of the same, but I'm going to take off the tire over there and take off that bracket, and I'll probably take those 2 bolts out and then come back over to this side and take these out and drop that whole vacuum canister. So the first 2 bolts, they went in here and they held the bracket on. The bracket actually covers this bolt, or maybe this one, I'm not sure, but it covers one of these 2 bolts. And they went into nuts that are welded in the inside of the frame. These other 2 bolts are a little more problematic because they are actually a bolt with a washer on each side and a nut on the end. Like that. So you have to hold the nut on the end to take it off. They're 3/4 inch bolts. I'm sorry, the head's on the bolts, not 3/4 inch bolts. There's just enough room to take a 3/4 inch wrench and slip it beside the radiator. And throw a little light on the subject here. There's just enough room to get a wrench in there. I don't know if you can see it from there, but yeah, you can. That's holding the front of this bolt here. So we're going to take that one out. And when that comes out, the vacuum canister, I suspect, is going to drop a little bit since I have the bolts out on the other side. And by the way, if this sounded a bit anemic when I was taking the tire off, for some reason this loosen button wasn't all the way in, and pressing it, it wouldn't go anymore. I had to change it to tighten and then back to loosen. After I did that, it's back to sounding like an impact wrench. So the washer's probably stuck up in the inside there. But it did not drop. On the other side, I don't know if that's going to be the case. On this side, I was able to get this 3/4 inch socket up in there. Looks like it might be a little problematic on this side. Let's see what we got over here. Probably will be able to get the wrench on it from here, but I don't think that there's enough room. the radiator hose and such is in the way of getting that socket in there. But on this side, it appears that there's room to just wedge this wrench up there. That's going to be a tough fit too, because the welded on that bolt inside the frame is a little bit in the way of that. That's going to be tough to get to. I might be able to get to it with the box end offset wrench. That's not all that good either. Let's try the 3/8 ratchet with a short socket on it. Might have just a little bit more reach than the box end wrench. Yeah, you try enough tools, pretty soon you find one that fits. Hopefully this doesn't drop down too quick. I want to okay, wedged in there. I suspect that now that it's all loose, I can go out the front and just pull it out. I have a board that I use for oil changes to put the catch pan on. Put that under it because I'm sure that's going to be fairly heavy. And I want something to set it down on to get a better grip. Okay, I see what's the problem. Right in here, there's what looks to be a 1/2-inch bolt that holds on the radiator bracket, and it looks like those have to come out on both sides because they're hanging up the vacuum canister on it. A better view of it. The vacuum canister's hitting that, and that's preventing it from sliding out. So I will loosen those bolts, and or at least one of them, to start and see what's going on. In the meantime, maybe I'm going to try to spend a minute or two figuring out how I can put something to support that so it doesn't drop whenever I take it down. Okay, what I had to do was put one of the first two bolts I took out that hold the front end up, and that raised it up enough. I think there's going to be room to get a 1/2-inch socket in there, and take that out. Hopefully I'll only have to put the one in, and a deep socket's going to work better there. Hopefully I'll only have to put that one in. Hopefully that gives me a chance to get this bolt on the other side. And I'm using a hand tool here because these bolts are smaller and if they're rusted, I don't want to break them. But it's coming out. Could have used the power tool. Okay, that's out on this side. I'm going to go do the other side, and hopefully we'll be good to go. Okay, that one bolt was all I needed. It did line up the other one. So now I can take this bolt out of here that I put in just to hold it up, and hopefully it'll drop down. See, but I have to pull it straight out, and that's going to be done a little bit easier with the lift at a lower height so I can handle it better. Okay, I got the lift lowered some. That out of there, and now I gotta manhandle the thing. I know this isn't balanced very well. It's gonna drop on me whenever I get it out. It's out. Wasn't too tough a job, all things considering. Would have been easier if I'd have had a helper, just for pulling that thing out. It's a little on the heavy side to guide it and support it, and you can't really balance it too well because of those arms being heavier on the back side than the arm on the front side is, but that I think is going to be a wrap for today because it's a hot and humid day here. And I'm sweating like crazy. So, time to go to the house and get some hydration. Thanks for watching. So as I was picking up tools and that to quit for the day, I remembered that I didn't show, in case somebody just watches this video and doesn't follow the whole series, I'm going to repeat the tip again, that when I'm taking a project apart, and it's going to be apart for a long time, so that I can tell where bolts went, I put them back into their threads. So in this case, we had two that had threaded nuts on the back side for the frame, and then we had two that went into the vacuum tank, and I put them in the way they went in. So these went in the bolt from the outside, the nut on the inside, so that I know when I put it back, that's exactly how it goes, and there's no question on whether I've got the right bolt for this part. So it's a good tip. I really think it saves me a lot of frustration in looking for where things go. What were they held on with? I don't lose any that way. And this one goes into the radiator bracket. One final comment about this. If you're doing this and you're doing the entire project where you're taking the body off of the car, you know, to repaint it or whatever you're going to do with it, I think taking that vacuum canister out would probably be easier if you took the radiator out first. If you take the radiator and the radiator mount out, then you're not going to have those two bolts that I just put the one in on this side in your way when you go to drop that. The other thing is, without the radiator in the way, these two bolts that have the nuts on the end would be very easy to get a wrench on or a socket on, so that you can loosen those. With the radiator in there, and I take out the radiator hose too. That's all in the way. It makes it difficult to get in there. I was able to get in there, but I think I would have spent a little less time if I would have had the radiator out. And the radiator is going to come out of this car anyway, since I'm taking it down to the frame. So again, thanks for watching. If I think of anything else as I'm cleaning up, I'll be back. Have a nice day.